Well, I'm thrilled to be back here. It's been a while. Last time I was here was 6 or 7 years ago, talking about news games. And now I'm be talking about math in school. I don't know what's more exciting, but we'll see. We'll find out. My name is Gonzalo. I work at DragonBox, which is a Norwegian pedagogy studio, formerly a video game studio, but now we make books and toys and stuff. So we don't even know how to call ourselves anymore. And I'm based in Uruguay, which is playing on Saturday on the World Cup. So they told me Americans don't care about the World Cup, but this is not America. This is New York, right? So okay. So let's. Some people know our apps. I mean, we've been doing for the last 7 years basically math games for iOS and Android on home market, and our best known game is DragonBox Algebra. There's different flavors of it, and which allows young kids to deal with this stuff. And this is Connor. His dad uploaded and authorized us to show this video. And well, this is what DragonBox again is being known for. I mean, making games that actually. Well, I think they are fun too. And we recently launched, last week actually, a new game with the chess world champion, Magnus Carlsen, that uses the same tutorial-based design, very similar to DragonBox Algebra. 3 years ago, we said, well, we're looking for a different challenge, more ambitious challenge, and we said, okay, let's try to see if we manage to teach algebra to toddlers, well, not toddlers, but 4 or 5 years old, all kids. Let's see what we can do at school. And so we went in Norway to talk to a bunch of teachers, and we told them that we had no idea what we were doing, if they want to join us, and they said yes, all of them. And we told them that they were going to have to work like 2 or 3 times harder than usual, and they said yes. So we were surprised, but we said, okay, well, let's try to see what we come up with. Actually, we had a lot of experience making games about math, but not as much experience working in schools. So we visited Rémi Briciot, who's a French expert on math pedagogy, who was retired. He lives actually has a house by the Mediterranean Sea, and his plan was to travel around the world in his golden years. And we somehow convinced him to go back to teaching. And now his wife hates us, but that's not our fault. So we're on Games for Change. I don't have to explain how tutorials work. Basically, you push every button at the beginning to figure out what's going on, then you kill a lot of monsters, and then you have a boss battle. Okay, that's the same structure we use for DragonBox Algebra and many of our games, and that's what we try to do in the classroom. So the first thing at the time we began, we were about 12 people, most of them based in Paris and Oslo. And from the very first day, I said, okay, well, we'll have to be in the classrooms working along the teachers and listen to the teacher. The first thing that teacher said is we don't trust tech people. And we're like, oh, we're not tech people. We're just weirdos. Oh, so that helped a bit. The second thing they said is there's some topics we've been teaching for years now, and we know how to teach them well. So we don't want to use whatever solution you have for those. So whatever you build has to be flexible, has to allow us to juggle new stuff with the stuff we know it works. Okay, fair enough. And we had recently released a game called DragonBox Numbers. And so we said, okay, we began a pilot with 600 students in Norway for the first year. Then on the second year, which is finishing right now, we went up to 1,300 students, both in Norway, Finland, and France. First graders. And we decided to concentrate pretty much, I mean, the solution covers the full curriculum, but we decided to concentrate specifically on number sense. Number sense is a bit tricky to explain but it's basically a lot of kids learn numbers just like a song and can perform very well on the first 2 years without really understanding what numbers are. The problem is that number sense is one of the number one predictors of math failure in later years. So how can you tell if a kid has strong number sense? Well, you ask her to bring you 4 toys, and when she gets here, she says, "Oh, sorry, I actually needed 5." So a kid with good number sense will just go and pick another one. But a lot of kids just dump the 4 toys back on the basket and bring in 5. And this is not trivial because if they don't understand that 5 is actually 4 plus 1 or 3 plus 2 or 2 plus 3, they will have serious problems later in school. They can do fairly well at the very beginning. So that's what we concentrated on. There are tools that have been used for over 100 years, Quizner's rods and Montessori rods, and we basically created a digital version of that. So these are the neumes, which take further these rods. That's a 6, a 2, and a 1, and they eat each other. So 2 1s eat each other and become a 2, and you can slice them. That's 6 into 2 3s, 2 plus. So this may look like a metaphor for addition, but it's not. It is literally addition. This is something that DragonBox will be doing for a long time. These are mathematical objects. It means that the kids, when they're playing with these characters, they're actually performing operations. It's not as if. It's literally just a different form of representation. Okay, and that's very important because with this game, they allow it allows them to perform like 2 or 3 up to 4 times faster than just by using pencil and paper. Keith Devlin, a mathematician from Stanford, he says that the problem with teaching math is that it's like if we were trying to teach somebody music without an instrument, just by reading notation. And that's one of the problems we try to tackle. So we're working with the teachers. This is a classroom in Norway. So we're using the rods, the physical rods, and remember I said it's extremely important to be able to understand that numbers are made of other numbers. So we built this X-ray machine. And this X-ray machine might look like a small gimmick. It's actually one of the cornerstones of our solution. And well, kids love it first. But we play, there's many different strategies at the same time that we're using. And teachers, the first thing that we realized, because we actually videotaped many of the sessions, is that teachers in France and in Norway and in Finland were teaching completely differently, and they had different needs. So we needed to build a set of tools that was flexible, like for everybody to use in many different ways. Spoiler, it was a mess, but I think we got away with it somehow. So this is what the whole thing looks like, and you don't have to use everything. People are surprised because they expect everything to run on the tablet, and some teachers don't use the tablet that much. And we actually have this thing called printed books, textbooks, which we're very excited about, and I'll tell you more about. So remember, experimentation, practice, and killing monsters. So this is how we teach. I'm going to take you through a full session that may take a couple of days, where the teacher is going to teach equivalence sign. So this is the equal sign, larger than and smaller than. How does this work? The teacher never tells the kids what he's going to teach or gives them any instruction. The first thing the kids do is they get in groups, they get their tablets, and they get this sandbox or lab, and they play around with it. So they put some neumes on one side and the sign on one side, and the sign will change, and then they put some other on the. They have no idea what the signs are called or what they're for, but they first experience them, okay, for about 20 minutes. And as you can see, well, I mean, there's a lot of you can use the rods, or you can use actual numbers. And once they play around with it, then there is this discussion. The teacher will ask, maybe on a smart board if they have one, or in the printed textbook, the kids will look at this page and the teacher will start asking, okay, when does this little 2 lines appear? And then Olaf will say, Oh, when you have like a three on one side and on the other side. Okay, but then a little girl may say, yeah, that's true, but you can also have like three on one side and two and one on the other side, and that sign will show up. And so these are 6 years old, so it's not that easy to engage in mathematical conversations, but it helps a lot. And the idea is that if the whole group or just a few members of the group start, well, trying to put words onto the experience they had, it helps a lot to the teacher to then put a name on these signs and explain not only their name, but confirming what context they're being used. Up to this point, kids experience it and they heard their names. What comes next on the tutorial? Killing 10,000 monsters until you get good at it. So this is one practice. It's can we lower the sound a little bit somehow? Oh yeah, because this is so we get crocodiles, and the crocodiles will eat the not the biggest. We try to make sure that kids understand that it's not the big object, but the biggest quantity. Okay, and we didn't come up with a crocodile. This is something that teachers have been using for a long time. However, animated, kids kind of like to play with it way more, and they do this. It could take some kids only a few minutes or much longer. That's one of the other things we realized with the teachers. Some of the data we've been looking at, some kids are 10 times faster than others, and that's perfectly fine, but not in traditional schools. So actually, 3 of the kids on the first year of the pilot completed the whole program, the whole curriculum, like in 3 weeks. And you're laughing. We were freaking out. We're like, what we're gonna do with these kids? And well, we'll just build some super challenging stuff for them. And on the tablets, they also have like video games, our own DragonBox video games, or some other games for, well, I mean, it's as important to support slower kids and faster kids. And well, so they do this like 10,000 times until they can do it during their sleep. And trust me, they know when to put the crocodile in which direction. Of course, well, the obvious thing about this is, because it's game-based, is that they get immediate feedback. Getting immediate feedback means that they don't have to wait for a teacher to get the results later out of context. Once we went through that, then there's the boss battle. So the boss battle for us means many things. It could be an assessment, a formal assessment, or it simply could be, just like in regular video games, taking what you just learned and applying it to a slightly different context. Okay, so that's why we call it amplification. You just connect it differently in an amplified way to different environments, and that's what we do. An example could be just go into the exercise book and just do the same thing that you've been doing, but on a printed book. And this is a good opportunity to tell you why are we using textbooks. Our CEO actually, we ran into Negroponte, and he was like, "You're crazy," and we're like, "Yeah." And why are you using textbooks? Are you insane? Yes, we are. But also, we're using the textbooks' main limitation as an asset. Textbooks don't give you, or the print environment doesn't give you instant feedback. So it's more challenging. So it's like a boss battle. And of course, transfer is not automatic. We had to work a little bit on that transition. But the idea is that if we were only using digital, kids get so immersed on what's on the screen that actually the printed allows them to step back with the help of the teacher and abstract and get a more abstract view in a faster way. So that's why we're combining the two things. Also, the books are cool, but that's just my personal opinion. And trust me, if your background is in making video games and suddenly you have to like go to printers and actually editing books, those are very hard things to make, that I've realized. I think I never iterated any project more than those textbooks. Anyway, what do we do also? Our approach is quite similar, but also takes much further, I think, forward some of the basic concepts of the Singapore method. And this is one of it. We have more steps of abstraction. We begin with very concrete things, and then we get to a more abstract approach on math, specifically numbers in this case. We also have a storybooks, storytelling. Teachers tell us that we're crazy, and we're like, yes, we're crazy. They said we don't have time to teach a curriculum. I mean, you want us to add storytelling to math class? Yes, just write once, and kids go crazy because we build all these stories about each number, each character, and well, they help each other, and they also fight and stuff. But engagement has been probably one of the strongest results of these pilots. The pilot, as I was saying, finished just finished, and now we began being available for schools commercially in Finland and in Norway. There was a university that tracked the results. They haven't been published, and we want to further analyze them. But one of the things I can tell you is that first, all the teachers that sign up for the first year of the pilot wanted to renew for a second year, and some of them have told us that and take this always with a grain of salt. I mean, I love this project, but pilots are always tricky. But many kids have said, "Please, teacher, I want more math because it's more fun than the rest of the topics. If I die, please put that on my tombstone." Uh, so, just to finish, I wanted to show you. This is a second year textbook, and it's a story. The main character is a second grade teacher who, in addition to be a teacher, she's a superhero and she builds time machines. And there's an accident, and all her kids end up in the past and the future. Anyway, this is a book, a physical book. I actually have it there if anybody wants to take a look at it. But this is, I would call it like an ambiguous math book because it has a lot of problems. Okay, so here, for example, you have this table that tells you how many eggs each dinosaur lays per year. And the green dinosaurs, they lay 10 eggs. We have 1, 2, and 3 dinosaurs. So the question is, how many eggs, how many baby dinosaurs will we have next year? And if you go to back to the book, there are the answers, and it will say 30. But the answer sections has plenty of more questions. Are you sure they're not male? Are you sure there can be like dino twins? That's kind of cool, no, right? Dino twins. And plenty of more questions. Why? Because math is not about or just about solving problems. That's what school ended up doing, which is math is an operating system for understanding the world. And one of the most important things we have to teach when teaching math is not just being able to do 3 times 10, but actually trying to discern relevant information in a complex world. In a world of fake news, we have here 7-year-old kids trying to identify different scenarios and relevant information. And this is a book actually that the teachers wanted and they requested, and we'll build that together. And it's actually working very well, and they're using both at home and at school. And again, we have a lot of cool digital stuff, but just applying also our game design experience to making a simple book about ambiguous stuff, that took us a long way to complement, I guess, the digital aspects. So these are some pictures of the kids in their classrooms. And again, I mean, sometimes they use the tablet, sometimes not. To sum it up, okay, I couldn't prevent this. This is my daughter. We tend to think that the opposite of boring is fun, but that's not true. So this is her on her second day on the slide. Of course, she climbed here at the very beginning, but then she got bored. And then she's doing it wrong, right? Well, no, don't tell her that. I tried. So she's looking for a more interesting challenge. And that's what all this leveling up in education is. Okay, the opposite of boredom is not fun. I mean, fun is a consequence of what we do. The opposite of boredom is challenging. Okay? So that's what we've been doing in Nordic schools in a nutshell. I'll be happy to tell you more. I'll be around. And thank you so much for coming up. Thank you.